Hello, Miss MC Trey in Bulavinaga to you. Can you hear me?
Bulavanaka, how are you?
Now I can hear you. I'm well, thank you. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Just trying to, as we do, work out the tech. But good
Work
to
out the
see you.
tech.
Great to be here on this beautiful Monday evening. How are
Yes,
you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How's your start to your week going?
It's Monday and it's quite full on and I've been a bit under the weather. Like I feel very unprepared. I don't have my headphones. So because I can, did you see how my camera is moving? I'm just gonna go and grab my headphones. There
Okay,
you go.
there you
Ta-da!
go. Technology. I thought you were going to run off on me there.
Yes, but I'm well and great to be here um for the show. And you're
Yes,
doing well
and
yourself?
yeah, I'm feeling great today. Look, it's been a full-on day today, right? And so much has gone on over the it came from a really well structured day to a full on you know crazy day, so I've just been running around everywhere, and so it's really good to be here with you and to be catching up. Ni sambula vinaka na turangken marama dorwoken ngolelewa ni bagarong tumai and ave say wura wura vikemnia serne. We want to welcome everyone from Sydney and everyone who's listening in from everywhere, to VeiTalanoa with my co-host MC Trey and of course myself Sevu. So we're just talking about how it's been such a busy Monday. I don't know about yours, Trey, but mine just went crazy, right? Because there's all this unexpected last minute meeting, as you know. So I just sort of jumped in and then went on from there. But I just want to do a first shout out to Mr. Timothy Wales. Timothy, you need to get in touch. Bulavinaga to you, brother. We miss you. We haven't seen you for so long, and we are well and trusting that you're well also. So where are you these days? We need to connect with you, especially with some of the conversations that's been happening. Hey, Trey, that we've been having community
Yes,
conversations, and Timothy's name has come up a few times. Timothy,
talofa, yes, talofa to Tim, who worked with the Department of Communities and Justice and spearheaded an amazing program for our Pacific communities for several years. And Sev and I were just reflecting, we wish we had that program and someone like Tim in the Department of Communities and Justice, because it's
so true.
definitely required now, especially with everything that's going on with our young people and our communities. So good to see you here, Timothy. Banaka.
Yes, so true. And so we'll make sure we connect with you, Timothy, and we'll have to have some chats around, just what we're currently trying to do and so forth. So again, welcome everyone. We've got an exciting show on today. We mentioned last week that we will be talking about the seasonal workers program and also the Pacific labor mobility scheme. So I had a bit of a chat earlier on with Tukini, and he will be. We tried to do a 20-minute segment, but it went on Trey, and so we'll split it in two, and we'll have it as a two-part series, I think. But he had so much to share, so we just sort of tried to scratch a little bit of the surface, but we'll go more into that. But how are you feeling, Trey? You feeling good?
I'm doing well, and I can just imagine you and Tukini catching up, taking longer than 20, because the first 20 is catching up first, and then you eventually
It was
get to the
beside
meat
that 20.
of the conversation,
Yes,
You're just starting.
it was it was outside that 20 minute. So again, Boulevard to everyone who's tuning in to our VeiTalanoa digital series that Trey and I decided to do some weeks back. And it's
Mm.
really to try and create community online, since a lot of us are unable to see each other and visit each other, especially in New South Wales, in Sydney, where we have a very strict lockdown at the moment that we are moving through. And so we wanted to use the platform to really have conversations and share resources There's a lot of also help out there for our community. And Kave will be joining us shortly. Kave Sokuru, and he's also been very resourceful with a lot of the things that are going on the ground. So Trey and I, again, were involved in the meetings today with the New South Wales Council for Pacific Communities, where again we're talking about community engagement, what services are there, what are we doing, and so forth. So we'll be able to share a little bit more about that, Trey.
Yes, exactly. And, I guess that's why we feel like it's been jam-packed, because at the moment we don't really get to switch off, because there's a lot of needs in the community. But before we proceed, I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting upon here today, and pay respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And I'm based on Darug lands, raised on Darug lands, and very proud to be connected to the communities out here. And Sev, you're in a different postcode, but you can share where you're transmitting from.
Yes, I'm transmitting from the Eora Nation here in the city of Sydney, and so we're on two different nations, pretty much. Trey, from where you are?
Yes, we are, but united on the same digital wavelength, so it's good that we can gather here today. Just wanted to acknowledge also Nathan Lay, said Bulla from Brisbane, so good on you up there in Queensland. Nathaniel, yes.
Yes.
So thank you for listening in from the
Bulla
Mate project.
You'll have to
and
tell
that
us
could
more
be Bulla
about
Mate or Bulla Mate, yeah. So let us know. No, it's probably Mate. Who knows? But he can let us know, and maybe we can speak to him in a session down the track about that project. And also our Torres Strait Islander sister, Taryn, who's listening in. The last I saw, she was up north doing some workshops up there. So great to have you on, Taryn, and love that that you're listening in. And thank you. She says, looking deadly, you too.
Oh, miss you.
Thankful.
Can't wait to see you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
So it's been a full-on day for us. As you said, we started with the New South Wales Council for Pacific Communities, and our sister there, Mal Fruin, who chairs that. So she, we've been meeting with her to see what's going on. And also I met with the Fiji Diaspora Women's Alliance, so Lizzie and the team there, just to discuss what they're doing, and they're doing some amazing things on the ground, doing some case management with a lot of families. So just good to connect with other people, because we're going through this pandemic, and the part of this show, the reason why we're doing this is to share information and also to hear what's going on, in the communities, because we can't meet up. So we have to use what we've got to resource and inform ourselves, so that's why we're here. And one of our I guess our ears on the ground, one of our correspondents who's been very active, is waiting, and he'll be popping in to share his news and his feedback. So we look forward to having Kave on shortly.
Definitely. And, I had to go out today to take my mom to have a vaccination done. And it was her second one. And, my mom is a retired nurse, for those of you that are watching. So she's really been listening in to the 11 o'clock news, news briefing and so forth. So she's decided, because she lives in one of the hot spots, right? So she's decided to, she said, look, they're talking about the modeling that it's going to peak, and then it's starting to, today was over 2,000 cases, right? So it's starting to already. So she said, and she was glad that she was going to get her vaccination today, her second dose. So she had just been keeping herself away and so forth. And, even her neighbors would come around and she'd tell them, please don't come without a mask. And, just, I'm okay, it just, because some of them, the language barriers, and some of them don't really follow some of the rules and so forth. So her being a nurse and understanding, she spent a lot of time in Fiji going and vaccinating young people and so forth, and kids, and into communities. So she was very keen to just go and get that done today. And she said, please video it and share it to the family, and then take me shopping, because I want to shop up for the next month, because I'm not leaving the house. And so she's planned, because she's in one of those highly, areas where there's a lot of transmission going on. So it's just interesting. And she's, I've just checked up on her, and she's well. And, we're worried about, obviously, the elders. And one of the things, just for those out there, that we've been hearing a lot about is the communication barrier for our communities. And so very soon, just to let you know, what one of the things, and there has been translation in lots of different Tonga, Samoa, and Fijian especially. But what we'll do is share it on the New South Wales Council for Pacific Communities website, which we will put up later on. We'll be doing a lot of updates on there, where we'll be sharing in language as well, Trey. So those updates to the website with all the latest information will start to go up on the New South Wales Council website soon. So that's one of the things that we met about today, because we want to make sure that our Pacific people are, getting the help that they need, whether it be to what happens next, what happens if they've been found as a positive case, what happens next. We've had cases where families have been that we talked about last week, where they've been taken away. And they didn't really understand what was going on. So we want to make sure that, we provide as much information and support to our communities, so that they're well informed. And should they need, to talk to somebody, that is also in motion, so that we can have coordinators in different LGAs to be able to support the local communities there as well, as far as being able to get them out some, safety kits or COVID kits, or whatever it may be called, and also, letting them know where they can get food from, especially when you go into lockdown. What happens with all that? You can't leave the house. So there's food delivery services that's arranged, and so many good things that are happening. And the important thing is to try and get that information out. So we'll be sharing more about that as well. Yeah.
Yes. It says Nathaniel A has explained Bulla as in hello, mate as in friend equals hello friend. Of course. Thank you for explanation, and shout out to Lyric. That's a very familiar name. Lyric is watching in. Yes. And also to Steve. Oh, Steve, bless him. Speaking of food packs, so I ordered a food pack from the CMF, the Hope Harvest Project, because I hadn't shared this, but I'd been a close contact last week from Thursday, because I got vaccinated on Wednesday and I wasn't feeling well. So I went to the hospital and then became a close contact when I left hospital. So I've been at home. This is day 5 for me. It's my 3rd isolation period, which the first one's challenging, the second one, the third one, I'm just like, what's going on, Lord? He really wants me to sit still. So I said, okay, so I took time off work. I said, Lord, I'm just going to sit still this week, but of course still support my communities. But then Steve came and delivered the food. So it was good to see a familiar face, even though I couldn't go and greet him. I was at the gate, and my family were like, stay inside, you can't go out. I was like, bye, Steve. So it was great to see him. And so just a shout out to Pastor Jonah Wyatt and Angela and the family and all the volunteers that, are going out there packing foods and delivering out to those in need, So just good to see that happening. And interestingly, I also have every day I've been meeting families that are quarantining at home. So they're having challenges on, okay, what do I apply for, what am I entitled to financially, where do I go for food support, where do I go for health support, mental health support, and also that care pack that you're talking about, the COVID care pack, so that we can build our immune system but also stay healthy. So, you know, that's part of what the New South Wales councils will be putting out, and also Matavai Cultural Arts has been putting out, and it's great that Sevu, you'll be assisting with getting that information out, because every day now I'm hearing of families, you know, that are isolating at home and don't know how to access all of these services. So, and then we're hearing we haven't even reached the peak yet. So, you know, we've really got to make sure that things are in place to support those that don't have the support in place, you know, which is where we can assist. And, you know, they can always check the New South Wales Council website. They can check our Fiji Day page, but also the Fiji Diaspora Women's Alliance. You know, they've got a lot of resources on their page, and they're constantly meeting with service providers and, you know, offering updated information. So we'll continue to share that information on the Fiji Day page to help people, or they can just message us. If you've got questions about any of this or where to get support, please message us. You know, we'd love to assist you. And if we can't, we'll try and link you to other people that can assist you. So just wanted to share that.
Yes, especially on this, exactly on this, again, on the Fiji Day page, we will definitely be sharing more information as it comes to light. And also the council website once we update that. But the Fiji Day one will definitely be rolling out as we get that information. Definitely there'll be all this help that is available. I was even surprised today of the help in the different LGAs about the food deliveries and, you know, the free food delivery packs. Didn't even know that actually existed in all the different LGAs. So they are there. There's help. And so we want to make sure that that information is coming through to the community. So while we're talking on that, we have got our brother Kave Saukuru. Nisambulu vinaka matangali.
Hola, Kave.
Bulu binaka Trey, bulu binaka matangali Sevu.
It's good to see you. How are you?
Yes, good to see you. I'm very well, thank you, and I'm excited with the earlier briefs that you guys have been updating us on, and I think that is good news and a positive direction for us.
Definitely, yes. And, you know, we will be reaching out to you as well in terms of the Fijian translations and so forth. You know, there'll be a lot of that. The coordination is becoming a lot more clearer as well. So, and the resources are there. The councils in those LGAs are also, when I say LGAs, for those that don't know, that's the local government area, just in case, right? LGAs, local government areas. So the local councils are really providing as well. They have a pathway to community as far as food supplies, and they are going through not-for-profit organizations, churches. So a lot of that government help is actually coming through that channel. So if you're wanting food, wanting support that way, and then there's places like the Red Cross that we spoke about as well, and so forth. So there's a lot of help there. Yes.
You did a disappearing act, Kave.
I'm hooking in. I'm tuning in from the laundry at the moment. How's that? Just on the outskirts of our local government area, and as you were mentioning, Mata, the local LGAs of concern, Yes. And I was thankful too that Trey has mentioned the visitation by Hope Harvest. Just a quick update. On Saturday, on early Saturday, that was late Friday night, I had to make a call to New South Wales ambulance, and then I was redirected to the local police station to request a welfare check on one of our community member who had tested positive and was home for 3 days and hadn't received a follow-up visitation from contact tracing. And but I was in contact with him, and by Friday I had noticed a change on his physical appearance and the way he's been talking to me. So I was a bit worried about his mental health and his physical health as well. So I made the call to I reached out to the New South Wales services via their hotline and managed to get an ambulance that went to have a check on him, and they had to transport him to Westmead, where he was. There were further tests done, and then now, as we speak, he's on self isolation down at one of the facilities in Mescot.
Right.
Yes. Mm.
And how is he doing?
And all throughout the week all throughout the weekend, I've been busy making courtesy calls because there were other close contacts that were close contacts of this community member, and they have tested positive too. And just recently, I was rushing down the server to pick up Vodafone telephone recharge so I can send it across. And earlier in the evening, I went to pick up a bottle of a bottle of gas because they couldn't come outside. So what I'm trying to do is just to reach out on them, and we are communicating via messenger, and they are just dropping in this whatever they needed at their mailbox and dropping off at the mailbox with the containment process. And yeah, that's what I've been busy doing for a couple hours ago and for the last weekend.
Wow.
Doesn't sounds exciting, eh?
Hands and feet.
Welcome to our life.
Thank you. Thank you so
much
much, Thank you for making that call, like sometimes we don't know when to call the ambulance, us gang,
Yes.
like we're a bit too relaxed, and some of us think about, oh my gosh, the cost, but when do I wait till it gets worse? I think we don't wait. If we have concerns, we call ambulance. And
yes,
the good thing is, if it's COVID related, we won't get charged that usual $500 fee that the ambulance usually costs. So if anyone's concerned about that, about the cost, it's free. But we shouldn't wait, because they might look like they're stable, but then when it changes quickly,
very quickly.
Yes.
So it's better to be safe and they get cleared and they sent, rather than it being too late, which is what we've been seeing in the last few weeks,
Exactly.
So good on you. Thank you for doing that.
Yes. And, just to let everybody know as well is you may not be aware of that many Pacific people, but we can tell you we are seeing the numbers in these LGAs of concern, because there is a high population of Pacific people, and a lot of people are frontline workers. They work in health, they work in transport and deliveries, in security. So, there's cases happening because they bring it home. They're out working, they bring it home, and the whole family gets affected by it. And so we just want to, again, remind everyone that if you are feeling unwell, don't hesitate. Make that call, or and try to get some help, because there are cases happening now where it's too late. We had a case last week where the mother had died young, a young lady that passed, because she was thinking she was all right, as you said, Trey, and then it happened, right? It hit so quickly and left behind 2 kids. So, we're just praying for our community, sending out thoughts and prayers that, and please, that's why we're doing this, is because we want to reach out and try and help as much as we can.
Yes.
So let us know if there's anything you need.
Kaveh, if there's anything that you think we could help the family, that's isolating at home, or even the one in quarantine, like reach out to us so we can try and assist where we can,
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. And while we're still at it, because maybe people are tuning in live from our Sydney area, wabinibina weekend na matabiokani ni VeiTalanoa chikongo na tovi matilevu sangan dono menta ba wele taka dono menta VeiTalanoa ke baka sande o chiko na mate sa chiko na mate chiko na ngon sala roni vitar mekin vitar mai ve rauna biokani and Fiji Day page New South Wales Pacific communities that are looking after us Pacific Islanders here in New South Wales, and that is the services that or the lending hand that is available for us that we can reach out to assist us in the trying times that we are going through.
I'll just speak in language for a while. Excuse us. Do talaga nakabukarita ka tsukenda o Liuliu ni New South Wales Council of Pacific Communities. Ang balatira na nantangase era na numoira ni tabango era singra era rikota kana loko bulimbula.
Yes.
Rikota ko irande loko lako singing bimbi sarna non rekisi. Mera loko kini bulimbula. Gay songa na sangay tarir ba ko na mate bakong get kenda chingwana menda bakang bimbi menda bakang deota kani bir na nandangase makata lang kina bi kenda na se ngon to kanda bi tartaratu na bi menda sasanga menda tarir na nandangase menda tareira aveitar tarbat kairan da reida chico ni non merangaro ni tuko non rambula.
Iyo. Awabetukuna ni ngori dosranga na kalebwa ya vendu na community member. People are a bit reluctant to go to hospital. Okay, da rera makatar chukuna la ko balimbula. Na turanga ngo sa tobi ko chukumena mate. Sa leising lo tule sa bimbi sa lako na ambulance sa may kuchiko and when he reached Westmead lokas ako sa ICU.
Right.
So sa bimbi chuko na mate, and then he didn't reach out. He thought he could look after himself or get himself self-contained, and maybe when a 14-day period passed sa na na mate. Ngunungo, if we feel that if you are not feeling well, it's better to get a welfare call. Get the ambulance to come over, have a welfare call, and then they can decide whether you have to be transported to hospital or you are okay to stay at home and continue your self-isolation. That's what our community members need to know.
Very good point. And just to reiterate, we need to take care of the elders especially and check up on them or really other members of our family, members of our communities, those that we know may not have close relatives as well. Let's take this time to just be mindful of those around it, especially those that are vulnerable, those that may have language barriers, older people, and let's make sure that that we're reaching out for them and checking up on them.
Yes, you're right. You're right, Trey. We need a welfare call, because the welfare call, it's either you can request just the police to come over and have a look, or you can request police and ambulance. They come have a look and then they decide. Then they decide whether you need to be transported to hospital or it's okay just to continue self-isolation. And that was the case with the other cousin of mine. And he was a bit worried because there were 4 other members of the house who were close contacts, which included 2 toddlers. And then he's a bit stressed on him staying there, getting self-isolated, and the people that they live with, even though they have gone to the testing station and the test result has come back negative. And then when I started talking to him, then he was a bit stressed on how I will quarantine the room after my 14 days isolation. And then I just told him, the good idea is to get these people across, see if you're okay. But if not, then you can be lifted to a hospital, transported to a hospital, and then they'll allow time to empty the room, and then the authorities to come in and do the sanitize the room and get it ready again, for the sake of the other family members that are his close contacts.
Right. No, very good point. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation, so hopefully that's helpful for those that are listening out there. And certainly feel free to inbox us if you have any questions or concern, and we can direct you to those that would be able to assist you. So what about as far as there's a lot of talk at the moment about the mental health side of things. How are you? How are you two? Let me just check in with you two. How are you two both doing, especially with these long lockdowns? That it affects people. And so, how are you two doing? Let's do a little mental health check, just in our little group. And to all those
Wait,
that are
Trey, are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm okay, thank you. Are you
Okay,
okay, Kave?
yes, all good. I'm good. I will always try to be on the positive side of things and see everything as a challenge and an opportunity to venture out and look for other resources that can help us and reach out to people. What I'm doing just for my mental check, because I'm a bit an extrovert, so what I do now that I'm boxed into my own space, into my own LGA, what I do group chats. Then I started calling in friends. Then I gather them from everywhere. Then start talking to them. That's how we touch base, and then we share a joke, and then we go down memory lane and say hello to family members, and that keeps me insane during this time.
Keeps you sane. Group chat on Facebook or
Oh
Facebook?
yeah,
Would you use
yeah.
Messenger?
Messenger, group chat on Messenger.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we've been doing that, Sev, having some the Zoom parties, but also the Messenger chats almost every day with different people in our community. So that's been helping. But usually I go for a walk every day or try and get out, get fresh air. But when you're isolating, I've just had to, I move my furniture in the room and then just try and exercise, in the room, but hard to be motivated, because you don't, but I just start with 10 minutes and then every day I just keep increasing so I can get into the habit.
Yes.
But yeah, it's hard to stay motivated. How about you, Sevu? I see you jogging around the Opera House and
well, did you see the video
climbing the Sydney Harbour Bridge?
The video I put up earlier? That was just on my, I've taken so many images and footage of the harbour and the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. I'm blessed that I've got that as a backyard that I can run around in my little bubble. So let me ask you two this question. I'm doing great. Thank you, Trey, for asking. And I'm glad that you're both doing well. The methods that you're using to keep yourself well, and we should keep each other in check, right? Check up on your families, check up on your friends, make sure that everybody's okay. Use this time to be kind. Talavini was saying to us the other week is, be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and this is the time for it. So let me ask you two this question, and maybe we'll ask everyone out there as well that's tuning in. Where will you go? Where is your first destination internationally? Most of us can travel internationally. Yeah? All right. Okay. Not even internationally. What will be your first holiday or getaway that you would do once this lockdown and restrictions are done?
Trey.
Okay, Sev knows, of course, first flight out that I can travel, I will be in Nandi.
Where?
I'll meet you, Sevu. Yep, can't wait to go back. It's too long.
And what will you do?
Too long.
What will you do?
Oh, I just usually when I get off in Nandi, then I'll try and go and visit family. But I just can't wait to get into the ocean. I really miss it. Being raised in Suva, but my line, we're salt water. Waisiliva people. I'm just missing that ocean. I need to get back.
Tell me about it. Father Bikemni Matangali, where's your first destination?
My first destination will be a local NRL game, or maybe a Super Rugby game. I kind of miss going out to watch footy.
Which team?
I kind of miss for Broncos for sure, my dear.
Nambua Broncos or Queensland Broncos?
Brisbane Broncos.
Sorry. I think we have to cut the connection. Cut the connection, Sev. I'm gonna turn the camera off. Sorry.
And if I'm flying out, I'm doing a connecting flight straight to Taveuni, or maybe I'll go to Bonolevu Uh,
Gabi Island.
Maybe in Sabu Sabu, because I got a few cousins up in Sabu Sabu, and other schoolmates who are planting Angona at the moment in Tabiuni, and that is where I'm longing to go. Go a fresh pounded cover, sit down, and then have some good fish to go with it later, and nice fresh meaty, or ends up
Chili.
more.
Hey, I have to tell you, Matagali,
Uh,
you know, when I took mom today to go and get her vaccination, she said she was going to cook for me. So I
okay.
had beautiful fish with meaty and dalo, moli roquete. I just
Isa.
had, so I'm in a good place. That's probably why I'm doing really well tonight. I just thought I'd share that with you too.
Oh,
That's
that's
why
good.
you're glowing.
Just a shout out to Steve Lesu. Steve Lesu saying his first destination will
Yes,
be White House in Sydney.
That'll be
So White
right.
House in Sydney and a
Right.
big
Okay. Okay.
Bulubinaka to Usaya Moli. Matagali binakawali
Yes.
and a big
Oh,
Bulubinaka to Nathaniel Lay again. Nathaniel Lay is thinking of going to Singatoka. Singatoka is not bad.
nice.
The sand dunes are very therapeutic. Just a few walk and then come back and then enjoy the sunset by the Singatoka River.
Yes.
Or under the Melrose Bridge, as they say.
Oh, you're talking about which one? You're talking about deep sea.
Not the gypsy.
Hey, Nathaniel, you know about deep sea? I hope you don't know about deep sea. That's a very dangerous place. So, yes,
And
it's more dangerous than
it's
White House and Black House put together, Steve. So, Uli's going to go to Port and Denarau. That's where Uli's going.
oh nice.
I'm with you, Uli.
Put them in a row and have a few cold ones and get a transfer out to the islands, eh? And one
Yes,
of those island hoppers.
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Malia Katara.
Exactly.
Yes.
Talking about, did you guys watch the Friends for Fiji on the weekend, on Friday?
Oh,
Too
yes,
good,
on
man. Too good.
Friday. We
Too
were
good.
there.
Too good.
Tell us your feedback, Matangali.
Well, I really got a twist of our contemporary Fijian jokes by our host. I really enjoyed the show, and he's got a very good twist of doing things, and
Dry. Humor.
yes, and we had sit out with our family, and then I was catching up too with Rina and the family up in Blacktown just before the photo that I sent. That was from Rina's setup in Blacktown.
Right.
And I,
Oi!
The
and
studio.
I was trying to mention it. But I had mentioned earlier. I was trying to edit, but I couldn't edit. But anyway, that was Rina's setup in Blacktown, and we really enjoyed the show and the new music coming through from Fiji. And I think that is another good way of bringing mileage to our local producers and our local artists. And it was a good show.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yes. Good
Right?
show for a good cause, which
Yes.
USA would be taking care of while in Suva. So thank you, Usaya, for listening in. And he's saying White House Nandi. I think, yeah, White House there, but there's a White House in Sydney as well, Usaya.
Yes.
So on your next trip, we'll ask Steve to show you where White House, because I've never been there. Have you been there, Sevu?
I don't know what you're talking about. Kabe,
Me
have you
neither.
been there?
I've been to the White House down at the Madame Tussauds display, but haven't been the
Obama.
one. I haven't been to the one in. Yes, I was just waiting outside just to do Uber pickups outside Peterson.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're working.
Me too. Yeah, I was working. Yeah, Uber pickup too. Me too.
You know,
And
these
Sevu as well,
hotels,
right?
these parties are just going to go off once the lockdown is over. Eh? People are just going to flock to these things, you know. So,
Yes.
for those that are listening in, the Friends for Fiji fundraiser, which was a festival that was hosted on Friday night. If you look up Friends for Fiji, maybe one of you two beautiful people could put up on the link here the Friends for Fiji page. You can go and watch it on that link. So that's up on Facebook, and it was live streaming on Friday night at 7 o'clock. So that is in line as well with a GoFundMe page called Friends for Fiji. And the festival was really to try and create, with an atmosphere of fun, of joy, of music, of creativity. And I just want to do a shout out and thank all the artists that gave of their time or recorded music, who gave some of their creative work to be shared on the show. That was very kind of them. And of course, that was all to put together that production. And the aim is to raise funds for the Friends for Fiji GoFundMe, and all the funds from GoFundMe is going to go to Usamoli, who's Matangali, who's on the chat. So we're leaving the GoFundMe page open for a while. Feel free to watch the show. Feel free to go donate. And that would go to a great cause of feeding people in Suva who are and around different places who are in great need for assistance at this time. That Nathaniel was mentioning about the things that they do. And Nathaniel, if you want to look that up, that was Friends for Fiji, which happened on Friday night. And then thank you as well to the food drive that you were doing and the work that you've been doing there with your Bula Mate project. So shout out to you as well, and thank you for that. Fiji's been talking about that they're opening up in November to tourism, right? So the Tourism Fiji has worked really hard with the government and also with Fiji Airways to get a really high rating as far as COVID preparedness and how to manage that very effectively. So Fiji's just gone hard out in preparation to this, and they're really gearing and getting ready. They just had another vaccination round at the airport to make sure that all the workers are, are really up there and so forth, and in terms of preparedness and getting ready for it. So that's really exciting, right? We're talking about opening up. November's not far away. So
yes.
For Fiji, November 1st, yeah?
Yes.
Hopefully for us here, October, right? So
yes,
Yes, fingers crossed. We'll see how we go in Sydney.
Sydney, hopefully we will relax everything by September, fingers crossed. And then October we should be able to move around. And then by the 2nd of October, fingers crossed again, double fingers crossed, that we'll be able to do Fiji Day meetup with everyone and celebrate the 51st anniversary of our independence. And hopefully the 51st anniversary won't be another lockdown.
Well, you know what? We can always postpone it, right? For a few weeks until they open it up, right?
Yes.
So they're already starting to prepare for big games and stuff like that. So in New South Wales.
So, just a quick one. When you had mentioned the big game, I think we need to congratulate the our Fijian boys that were in the Wallabies team for the great effort last night. Even though All Blacks won again, for us that are still sitting on the fence. And big congratulations to the Ndrua setup that will be entering the Super Rugby and the next competition.
Tell us about that. What do you know about that? I hear they're going to be based here, right?
Yes, I understand that they'll be based up in Brisbane, and they've started the ball rolling. They've appointed a CEO, Mr. Soban, who will be overlooking the Ndrua franchise and its setup. And they have slowly working on contracting our local players who will be playing, will be based in Australia. So that's another added team to the Super Rugby in Australia. So the Ndrua team will be part of the Super Rugby Australia, because they've got a separate setup as the Super Rugby Aotearoa in New Zealand, where Moana Vika is the other team that has come in to join the competition. So hopefully there'll be another field of exposure for our talent back at home, and another place for us to visit to in terms of game. They haven't come up with the game schedule fingers crossing there'll be a couple of games in Sydney and maybe down Wollongong area, as they done earlier. And that should be a good time to get out and meet everyone. And hopefully the borders will be open by then, and the public health order will be relaxed a bit.
Yes. And have you heard anything about the silk tails? When are they coming back, or any status update?
Isa, level for asking. Silk tails, I was just I did another welfare call, like a courtesy call to one of the players this afternoon. They still at home. They are waiting to be summoned back for off-season training around November. And that's when we'll expect them back in Sydney for the next round of the Ron Messi competition, which seems to not have been finalized for the 2 years now, because the first the competition last year was cancelled, and then this one has been cancelled too. So hopefully we get everything rolling and people will be safe. And that is the word on the ground from them, that they are still training. They are waiting to be lifted back by November for off-season training.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I've just noticed that we've got like 15 minutes left of the show. So
what about bikini?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview, and we'll probably just show 5 minutes of it. And then if we're trying to stick to schedule, and then what we'll do is I'll release that as a we'll release that as a full interview, because it goes for 40 minutes. So we'll sort of have a little trailer of it, right? So we'll play a little trailer of it, and then we'll come back and have a discussion about it, and then we will also upload it to the Facebook page later on. Yeah?
Yeah, we're not.
Okay,
that sounds good.
From the Pacific Island Council of South Australia.
Pleasure to be part of your program. I listened a little bit of it last week, so it's great to be part of it. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. And this is a topic that I know many are interested in, and of course, feel free if you feel to reiterate something in our Fijian language, feel free to do so, and I may do so as well, so we can just switch and be comfortable with that. Assuming that your audience is predominantly Fijian. Predominantly Fijian, but we have listeners coming in from everywhere. So yes, it's quite a mixed group actually. I think it's predominantly Fijian.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about the Pacific labor mobility and so forth, but you're here representing the Pacific Island Council of South Australia. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you actually do, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so the Pacific Island Council of South Australia is a peak body for South Australia, peak body for all the Pacific Island communities. We currently have 14 countries, ranging from West Papua, Maluku, Papua New Guinea, all the Melanesian, Solomon, Vanuatu, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Kiribati, Cook Island, and New Zealand, Maori, and including the Torres Strait.
Right.
Part of us.
Okay.
Beginning and Timor-Leste. So Timor-Leste was part of PICSA from day one.
Right.
So my role there is I am currently the president since it started in 2015. So the Pacific Island Council started at the back of Cyclone Pen that hit Vanuatu in 2015. So
right.
A group of us got together, leaders, church leaders, and community leaders, and decided to do some fundraising for Vanuatu. And PICSA was birthed out of that.
Right. So about 7 years now.
Yes. We're probably one of the youngest, actually, if you compare to Queensland Council, UpCove, which is Victoria, ACT, and New South Wales were probably one of the youngest.
Yes. And so as far as in terms of South Australia and the work that you're doing there with the Pacific Labour Mobility
yes.
program, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, sure.
So I'm sure a lot of your listeners are aware of the two programs that the federal government is currently involved in. So the first one is the seasonal worker program, which is under the Department of Education, Skills and Employment. I think it started in 2008. Pilot started in 2008. I was just talking to some of the companies that recently who were part of the pilot initiative. And so from 2008 till now includes the 10 countries of the Pacific. I think 2 from Micronesia, which is Kiribati and Nauru, and then Polynesia is Tuvalu, Tonga, Samoa, and then Melanesia, Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon Island, Papua New Guinea, and Timor-Leste.
Right.
So that's the seasonal worker program. So predominantly they come for a 6 to 9 months visa.
Mm-hmm.
And their work was originally focused on horticulture. So mango, agriculture basically, doing mango, strawberries, citrus, all those fruits, fruit and vegetable, berries in Tasmania, some areas, for example, in South Australia, we've got potatoes, vegetables as well. And so that was predominantly the intention from day one. But now it's actually branched from there. So right now, as we speak, there's 65 Fijians working at a Cable Beach hotel in Broome. So
Right.
they're as seasonal workers, but they're working in hotel industry, which is often usually the Pacific Labour Scheme component, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then you've got say Samoans, about 50 Samoans working in an electronic factory that makes electronic parts in Ararat, and 50 of them. So that seasonal workers as well. So that's the first program. The other one is the Pacific Labour Scheme, and that is under DFAT.
Right.
It's a slightly different structure. DFAT actually tendered out the administration of that program, and a company called Palladium won it. So I think Palladium got the contract for 2 years, around $75 million. And so Palladium created an arm to manage the Pacific Labour Scheme, which is called the Pacific Labour Facility. And that arm is where some of our islanders are working. Elia Atungiri from Queensland, he's part of that.
Right. Okay.
Ati from Samoa, Olivia from Tonga, and there's a few Timorese and Solomon Island Vanuatu workers as well. I think about 15 all up. So they all work for the Pacific Labour Facility, which manages the Pacific Labour Scheme, which is the program. So the difference between the Pacific Labour Scheme and seasonal work is Pacific Labour Scheme is up to 3 years, and it's semi-skilled work. So hotels, disability, aged care, fishing, and I think they're branching into other fields as well. Now there was talk of them getting involved in some administrational role as well, I believe, but that might have been confirmed yet. But predominantly those areas that I've mentioned is where they currently work right now. So Fiji has a big chunk, contributing to that program right now. I think in number they're about 3,000 around the country.
3,000 here in any given time.
Well, it's really based on demand. So the total number of Pacific Labour Scheme right now is around 3,000. Seasonal worker program is, I think, 12 to 13,000 currently as we speak. There's another program which has just been mentioned. I think it's going to be launched 27th of this month. I don't know if you've heard about that. Agri Visa. So that's a completely separate program.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that still under DFAT as well, or?
That program is actually, I think it's going to be under the Department of Agriculture, which is federal, and it's focused on the 10 Asian countries, ASEAN, so the Southeastern Asian, so it's Vietnam, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, so 10 of them. So this is actually a new initiative that was brought in by the nationals.
Mm-hmm. I did hear a bit about it when they were lobbying to have that startup, because obviously they were looking at the work that was happening in the Pacific and they were very much interested in being part of that. So now there's something starting for them, right? Which is great.
27th, I believe, 27th of this month, that visa will kick in. Now
that was very informative.
Yes, there's so much information there, Trey. So what we'll do is, because as I've mentioned, it's a long interview that goes on for about 40 minutes. We did plan to have it for 20 minutes, but we were in overtime. So what we'll do is we'll put that up separately. There's so much there. There's so many different programs I can say that is coming out. And one of the questions that I did ask him is, how can people get involved in the islands? Like, how do they get involved? How do they get involved in these programs that are happening? How do they apply for it? Where do they go for that? So we cover that off in the interview. And there's also specific one that he mentioned. I think maybe even offline, but we'll find out more about that. Was one for those that are on bridging visas. So that's going to be really, really interesting to sort of have a look at it as far as what that covers. So we should be covering that as well. But we'll upload the conversation a bit more so that others can listen to it. On the Pacific Labor Mobility, the Pacific Seasonal Workers Program, there's several different ones now. And we'll also, have him again on so that we can do a bit more of a Q&A and the stuff that they're doing in South Australia, because he's based in South Australia, and they have their own Pacific Council in South Australia, which is really proactive. They have language, Fijian language classes out of South Australia. They have really good programs. And also he was mentioning about Queensland, who are part of this whole labor projects for the Pacific. And so there's a lot of information there for him to share with us. So we'll continue to share a lot more of those that are doing different work for the Pacific community at large around the country. So if you have any suggestions or ideas, or anyone that you think would be good for us to be having conversation with, that would be helpful, certainly feel free to let us know. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's our tri-host over here. Kave, who's back with us as well. So did you get a little bit of that interview, Matangali? Have I got you on mute? Okay, let me unmute you. Oh, I've got you both on mute. Did I? Sorry.
Yes, that was a good brief from Tukini. And I think we would like to congratulate them for the effort that they are doing there in terms of mobilizing the labor and assisting them. And I'm a bit excited with the numbers, because he had mentioned that there is around 3,000 that are based under the Pacific Labor Mobility, and there's another 13. I'm not sure whether he mentioned 1,300 or 13,000 under the Seasonal Workers Program. And just an added information for us, I think one of our fellow kinsmen too from Nashikawa in Namatakula, Elia Tungiri. I understand Elia Tungiri is based in Queensland. That's and right. He is part of this Pacific labor scheme setup.
Yes, he is. Yes. And Tukini did mention him as well. Tukini is on the chat, everyone. If you want to ask him any questions, feel free to do so on the chat. But we will be sharing more of that, and lots more conversations with him as well in the future, because he's so involved in this great work. Look, at the end of the day, this is really about how it helps our people back home. There's thousands of people. He was telling me that there was over 1,000 of them that are in South Australia a few weeks back that were quarantined. I think they've been here for about a month now. But they were going through quarantining. They flew them in the middle of the pandemic, and they've been working out there, so they were able to provide for their families back in the islands. There was he sent me a video as well, which I'll share on later, but on next week maybe, or share it in with the clip with the rest of the interview. But it was this lady was saying, I send back $1,500 to the islands to help my family, and that's how much they're getting paid a week. And it's just incredible to think of what that would do transformation-wise, right, for families back in the island. So this Pacific labor scheme and so forth, the different ones, seasonal workers, 12,000, Pacific labor scheme 3,000, and that will only seek to increase, So great work that they're doing, and this is also going to expand within the other states, and they've got workers in different states to come in and to help this program expand, and also taking care of those gaps, those challenges that have happened in the past. And he talks about that in the interview. So please make sure you watch the interview that we'll post up of Tukini Tavui, Naita Tukini Tavui.
Well, sorry, Trey. Sevu, you can go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just like to thank Tukini for that. And on the same note, on other of our community members around these agriculture sectors or in tourist venues, that I've been in contact with a couple of them. And I would like to thank other community members for the pastoral care. That is one thing that we need to seriously look into, is to set up a pastoral care for these workers, or visitation. And I understand the Lotu Wesele Vitikirutuma have established a couple of their branches out in where people are working or where they are based, and there have been visitation to them. Because one thing that I can gather from them is the homesickness. And the other thing too is financial management, a bit of coaching just to help them. And on the same note too, I understand that a member of parliament, Nikono Waikula, had mentioned earlier that he met one of these returning workers who said that he didn't save any money. If he didn't save any money, that was his problem, because there was no proper, he didn't do financial management. But on the other hand, are we looking after them? Are we helping them with their budgeting or with financial coaching? That is one thing that can be added into the care that we need to provide for our incoming workers that are flooding in the seasonal workers program and the Pacific Labor Mobility. And that's just added information, and a big binakabukalewu to Kini for his effort.
Yes, and he's provided some of the links there. For those that are listening, it's on the chat, which is the links to some of the documents that are available around this. The other thing as well, he did mention, and he showed me some video footage as well of them having pastoral care, church services in the different languages, because it's very much of the part of life in the islands. He even spoke about that they were cooking lessons that some of the community groups were providing. So cooking lessons, and also things, as you mentioned, like financial literacy is one of the things that they speak about as well. So it's I think as well, the program, there's a lot of in the past there's been a lot of challenges, and there's been problems, of course, as you roll out something new, and it's been problematic, but they're trying to do a lot, especially under the DFAT program, to fix a lot of that. So we'll hear more. Listen to the interview, and we'll hear more as well from Tukini about the continued work that they're doing. But great suggestions, Matagali, as far as all the different things that all the different programs need to be looking at it.
Yes.
Can I just add? It's great that the government is hiring people from community, because previously, we had government and, staff that weren't aware of the community sensitivities and the culture and what's needed, because, it's one thing to communicate, but it's one thing to actually listen and hear what people are saying, so half the issues are solved when people from our community are empowered in these positions, so the communication can flow both ways, not just one way. So it's good that we're seeing positive returns, and we hope to see more of our people employed in these positions of authority to advocate for our people. So I'm excited to watch the video. Binaka Sevu.
Yes. Thank you. Now we're going to give it a wrap because we are 6 minutes over time, and we're trying to keep it to an hour, but there's so much to talk about every week. So parting words, ladies and gentlemen, from the two of you.
The time goes so quickly, there's so much we want to say, but we'll keep it short. Just want to encourage people to reach out, to each other, to your family. If you're thinking of family or friends you haven't seen for a while, send them a message, give them a call. Now's the time for us to check in with each other. And there's support out here, so you can message us on the Fiji Day page or any other church or community organizations that you link to. There's support. So let's reach out this time. Don't do it alone. We're in this together, the Naka Waqa level.
Naka Trey,
Trey, Mata Sevu would like to thank you guys for beautiful content and beautiful sharing that we've done tonight. And parting words, be safe, keep sanitized, stay in your local government area. To us in New South Wales and to everyone out there, reach out and keep in touch, and hope to see you soon in our next segment.
Yes, on that, they've said everything that needs to be said, and I just want to say that for everyone to stay safe, look after yourself, take care of yourself and also loved ones around you. And let us know if there's anything else. Please feel free to reach out to us. Ideas, thoughts, questions, support, and we're happy to assist in any way we can. So again, from us, Nisa Mode.
Nisa Mode.